Hey everyone, so today in class we looked at working backwards from area to determine radius and diameter, and this seems to be a concept that a lot of kids get stuck on simply because they're not taught to go backwards once they have a formula. So what I've drawn here is I've drawn a circle, and it's got a total area of 113.112 meters squared. The idea about what I'm going to teach you is that from knowing the area, we're going to work our way backwards to determine what radius is or what diameter is from that. So just to kind of refresh, if we have pi, and we know what pi is, and in our class we use 3.142. We don't know what radius squared is, but we know that the formula for solving area is area equals pi r squared. Now if you remember fact families, we can manipulate this formula a little bit and move things around. So we know that area, total area, was 113.112. We know pi is equal to 3.142, but we don't know what radius squared is. So if we had these two numbers that we know, if we do something to them, they're going to create radius squared. Now in this case, area was equal to pi times r squared. So if we think about this logically, I can't take total area and multiply it again by pi, because if I did that, what would happen? It would get much, much larger. We'd end up with something that was 300, and that won't make a lot of sense if we think about it logically. It doesn't make sense that way. So what we'll do is we're going to do the opposite of multiplication, because this is pi times r squared. So we're going to divide. We're going to take 113.112 and we're going to try to make it smaller and see if that doesn't help us find radius, because we know radius is smaller than total area. So if I do that, r squared is equal to 113.112 divided by pi. So 3.14, and I hope we can do that, 2. Good. And r squared is going to give us 36. Now what that means, we have r squared, and squared, I want you to think about that as a shape for a second. So if we have a squared shape, that shape inside has 36 units inside of it, or it's equal to 36 whatever. This means that we have an r times an r, and together r times r is going to equal that 36. But what is this r? Well, how do we know what those r's are? We know that if we took a number and just started plugging in random numbers, we could probably end up finding it. So for instance, if we did 4 times 4, that would be 16, so that's way too small. So let's go 5 times 5. Well, that equals 25, so that's too small, so we're not going to do that. But let's try and make it 6 times 6. 6 times 6, and that's 36. Oh, cool. So we know that each of these lines is equal to 6. Now there's a faster way to do this. There's a button on your calculator. It's called a square root button. And essentially what it does is it takes that total area and it splits it down for you to find the length of one total line. So we know the answer is 6. So if you jumped on your calculator and you hit square root of 36, you're going to find out that square root of 36 is equal to 6. So you end up with 6 here and 6 here, which means, and I know this is a little bit messy, I'm just going to delete some of this stuff here just to clean it up a little bit so that way I can continue to work. Okay, so we have the r squared is equal to 36, but I want to know r squared, r, single r, is equal to the square root of 36, and that'll give me the length of that one line right there. So r is equal to 6. Now if I was right there on the circle traveling straight across, by the time I got to about the middle, that would be 6. So I know that the radius itself, the single radius, would be 6 based on what that square root is, but maybe I needed to find the diameter. And the diameter is all the way across the circle through the middle. So if I traveled this distance is 6, this distance has to be the same because it's right through the center, so it's 6, and you end up with diameter is equal to r times 2, or r plus r, and diameter is equal 212. So this is what we worked on, trying to find radius and diameter, working backwards once we have total area. If you need to rewatch this video, by all means go ahead and rewatch the video, and if by chance you happen to have a question about this video or something doesn't make sense, please drop something in the comments below.